is constant accusations of the abuse of power. And so there's a doctrine that's come out of postmodernism, and it's kind of unholy alliance with Marxism. And the doctrine is something like all motivation can be traced to power. That's a very toxic doctrine, the doctrine that all motivation can be traced to power. And so let me outline that a little bit. So a lot of people think that there's a debate about who should be allowed to speak in our society, right? So we might think about that as the free speech debate, and we might think about cancel culture as the attempt to stop certain people from exercising their right to free speech. But that is not what the debate is about. That's only the paint on the surface of a very thick wall, let's say, because the actual debate is more like this. The postmodern types, especially if they have a Marxist tilt, and they almost always do, their critique was much deeper than that. Their critique was that the idea of free speech itself is a lie. And it was a lie that was created by the powerful to justify their exploitation by pretending that they valued free expression and the dignity of individuals. And so, even though it sounds like a profound and positive proposition, the idea that people have the right to free speech, it was nothing but a mask for power. And so when people are canceled on campus by this system of ideas, because it's really a system of ideas in some sense that cancels them, the reason they're canceled is because, so here's why you and I are talking according to this doctrine. You have a following. As a consequence of that following, you've accrued a certain amount of power. You can bring me in here as a tool, let's say, to ratchet yourself up the status hierarchy. You can act like we're sharing information in a way that might be designed to enlighten both of us and our readers or our listeners. But in reality, all you're doing is trying to elevate yourself up the status hierarchy. And if you don't know that, you're just ignorant, and if you're and blind, and you're even more dangerous than you would be if you were conscious of your true motivations. And so it's all about power. Now, that's just not true. It's not all about power. And in fact, if you try to govern your relationships based on power, your true relationships, you will fail. Mm-hmm. So imagine that your wife, let's say, you're going to just use power to interact with her. Well, try it and see what happens. You know, she's going to be miserable, and she's going to be resentful for sure. And maybe she's got more power than you when push comes to shove. Who the hell knows? Women aren't that easy to oppress. And so they have their own bag of tricks, that's for sure. And so, but at minimum, you're going to be setting yourself up for a loveless relationship based on mutual suspicion. And then imagine you tried to use power on your kids. Well, now and then you might have to use discipline. You might have to lay out the game rules, which isn't the same as like constraining them with oppression. But if your fundamental relationship with your kids is one of dominance, you're just a tyrant. And then if you try using that on your friends, well, first of all, you won't have any friends. The best you'll ever manage is henchmen, and they'll only be around you because they think they can get something out of your power. So they're the worst kind of friend because they're not even confident enough bullies to be bullies on their own. They have to hide behind another bully and be sub-bullies, and that's a dismal outcome. And then if you use power in your business relationships, it's like no one's going to be aligned with you, and the first time you make a mistake and you show any sign of weakness, your so-called business associates that you've just dominated because you have the power, they're just going to stab you in the back and leave. So it's a preposterous theory.